Gene! In the beginning, the universe was void and without form, and the Creator fashioned the heavens and the earth, separating waters from waters by a hammered bracelet. The Creator noticed that there was no Chris Claremont, and thus corrected that fallacy. Chris Claremont was a visionary writer, still as a matter of fact. Chris Claremont took a dying series created by Stanley and Jack Kirby called X-Men and made it into the powerhouse that it is now. You wouldn't know it by examining cinema, but X-Men has some of the most profound stories ever written. And unfortunately, one of Hollywood's biggest failures is their inability to adapt those epic storylines crafted by Chris Claremont into a cohesive narrative. The Dark Phoenix really had potential to do something cool, but they rushed it. They blew their wad too quickly. A movie that perhaps could have taken 2 or 3 installments to fully form an epic climax. Instead, we got something that was rushed, was too imbued with the politics of today, the identity politics, and characters which underserved the various plot devices. Hollywood's big problem today is that geeks and think tanks are thinking in terms of dollars and what's going to put butts in seats instead of focusing on storytelling. Now, many of the elements in Dark Phoenix, which were initially laid out by Chris Claremont, were somewhat touched upon. But it's more akin to a breath on the skin than a full-on palm attack. Dark Phoenix is one of those movies that you can tell was rushed to production, underthought, and then had its ass wiped in post-production. So instead of the well-crafted movie we could have received, what we got was a rehashed version of X-Men: The Final Stand, and starring the characters from Days of Future Past. So in this movie, ostensibly about Jean Grey being overwhelmed by the Phoenix Force, we find that the most compelling performance in the movie was given by Michael Fassbender as Magneto. Now, I really feel for the guy, I do. He turned in a great performance given shit for material. Meanwhile, James McAvoy was completely cucked in his role. He's seen as this sad, regretful alcoholic instead of the powerful leader of the X-Men that he should have been. And it's all so that Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique can say whammon. Also very much a failure, in my opinion, as an X-Men fan, is Hank McCoy hulking up to become the Beast, and then he looks like a dude the rest of the time. That is not how the Beast is. In fact, the Beast actually stood for a lot of what, along with Nightcrawler, a lot of what the X-Men were about. It doesn't matter what your outward appearance looks like. You could be a genius. You could be a saint. But the world sees your physique and thus is afraid of what they do not understand. Now, I went and saw this movie opening night, not because of my devotion to the X-Men. Indeed, my favorite hero of all time is Wolverine, who was not in this movie. But I went at the behest of a beautiful woman who said, I want to see this movie. So I said, I will take you. And I enjoyed the company, but I found myself slowly devolving into the movie theater asshole who just kind of makes snide remarks to my date, who ends up giggling at my observations instead of being enthralled by the story, or the lack thereof, that I was presented on the screen. Now, when you do X-Men at its best, there is nothing that can touch it. And it's not like you don't have fucking 60 years of material to draw off of. And again, a movie that could have taken, 3, 4 installments to build up to Jean becoming the Dark Phoenix and give us reasons to care about why that's happening would have been a lot more effective than having her just like turn into this mega powerful high school teen, you know. Now, was it a terrible movie? No, it wasn't terrible. I mean, you can chew some popcorn and watch it. It's just not X-Men at its best. And if I were you, I would wait for it to come out on Redbox or Netflix. Or if you have a hot blonde who wants you to take her to go see it, then you can do that too. What I'd really like to see is Hollywood consulting with writers like Chris Claremont on their product and have them help them shape the narrative. And especially people of Claremont caliber. I mean, they're novelists. They've been writing their whole life. They created most of the characters that you're seeing on the screen, but they lived and breathed. Chris Claremont worked on X-Men for 17 years. There is nobody who knows that shit better than him. I don't care how big a fucking geek you are. You're just not going to be able to get inside these characters' heads the way that he has. Not only that, as a writer, you kind of imbue your characters with different aspects of your own ego, or people that you know, or people that you wish you knew, and unfortunately, you would have a better time with the X-Men animated series Dark Phoenix saga than you would with the Dark Phoenix. Now, the reason that the MCU was so satisfying was that we had 22 films to get to know individual characters, and when we threw them all together in an apocalyptic scenario, we felt the stakes. When Disney gains control of X-Men, they have an opportunity to do something similar. Now, we might not have all the actors quite in place where we want them, but we do have an opportunity to tell their stories. And if you can tell them right and then throw them into something crazy, the template is there. All you have to do, Disney, is listen. So, those are the plot reasons why this movie failed. But there is another conspiracy theory out there that just got pointed out by Ethan Van Sciver. It sounds like there was some meddling by Disney because Captain Marvel, powerful cosmic entity. Dark Phoenix, powerful cosmic entity. And I really think the Phoenix Force could tear fucking Captain Marvel to shit. Fucking Rogue did it.
Coil. Language.
God damn it, Johnny, every time. How else am I supposed to get likes and subs, and comments and views?
Well, perhaps they could take a look at your friends in the Fandom Collective. It is a group of channels, dedicated to helping you gain traction and you gain likes. Perhaps they'll even share this video.